I spoke with former U.S. Secretary of Labor Elaine Chao and asked her thoughts on the congressional gridlock and the U.S. economic outlook.
People always talk about gridlock and how slow the system here in America is. On the other hand, the American people voted for a status quo government in which there was divided government. The presidency is held by Democrats. The House of Representatives is held by the Republicans, and the Senate is held by the Democrats. So the status quo prevailed. So despite all of the talk about gridlock, the American people returned the government in its divided form as previously existed. Number two, you know, gridlock is something that's tossed around a lot, but I think it's important to remember that America is a very confrontational society. It is openly confrontational. People contradict one another, people talk all the time, and the partisanship, quote unquote, that we see now is not actually one of the most partisan periods of our country's history. As many people have said, politics is contact sport. Having said that, though, I think the fiscal cliff is a very important issue. And clearly, with the election over, the Congress and the President are sitting down to see what can be done. It would be very, very bad for the economy if indeed the fiscal cliff were allowed to occur.
Do you think that the current Obama administration and Congress should approve the extension of the Bush tax cuts? And if so, of course, why?
You know, if the Bush era tax reform were not extended, effectively, all Americans would experience an increase in tax rates. We are in a very fragile economic situation right now. And so to increase tax rates across the board would be very detrimental to the economy and the economic recovery.
So there's a number of parts of tax cuts, such as capital gains, earned income. Could they separate some of those perhaps in terms of negotiations?
But anything that you separate would mean an increase in tax rates. And right now the economy is in a very bad situation. The labor markets are very weak. Employers are very uncertain about the future. And this is not a time to increase rates. Yes.
You are, I'm sure many of our viewers are aware of it, the first Asian American ever to serve on the President's cabinet here in the United States.
Actually, a woman.
first woman, Asian American. What advice have you given to a lot of those individuals who've, I'm sure, come up to you at various speaking engagements, talking about your role in history and what you've accomplished, and they may want to follow in your footsteps? What guidance are you giving to those individuals?
Well, I'm always very humbled when that occurs. And I'm very concerned about the future and opportunities for Asian Americans and all Americans. And that's why I'm very concerned about the state of our economy. Because when economic times are bad, there's not as much opportunity. I think a lot has to be done to revitalize our economy. We've got to keep our taxes low. We have to keep government regulations within reasonable bounds. And America has to be responsible in terms of its own spending patterns. You know, we have to not spend more than we take in.